floor. I'm doing it.
More on the beat.
So, why do you think that the indigenous people of Biafra really want a referendum now?
Well, Mr. Moderator, the indigenous people of Biafra is seeking for self-determination through the instrumentalities of international law, which is under the United Nations Charter for the rights of indigenous people for self-determination. So the indigenous people of Biafra, having taken this route, because we are a peace-loving people, because we are people who revered the sanctity of human life, because the people of Biafra do not value violence and the disorderliness in the society. So that is the reason why the indigenous people of Biafra chose the right way through the respect of the rule of law, which provides for a referendum for the people to determine their fate, whether we want to be part of Nigeria or to return and restore our nation of Biafra, which has existed for thousands of years before the British invaded our land in the name of colonialism and devastated every basic fundamental value system that we have had, and they amalgamated us with the people that we do not share the same value system with them. So the only right thing to do as the indigenous people, the owners of the land, is to seek for a United Nations supervised and conducted referendum to determine the fate of the Biafran people in West Africa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kalagu. Yes, looking at it as the people of Biafra are calling for a referendum, some people, many people are saying, including politicians in Nigeria, are agreeing that the Nigerian law does not support a referendum. So, how do you look at it?
Well, anybody that is telling you that Nigerian law does not support referendum, that is to say that the person is completely ignorant, because from record, Nigeria domesticated the United Nations Charter on the right of indigenous people for self-determination. Nigeria also domesticated the African Charter on the rights of indigenous people for self-determination. So anybody that is telling you that referendum is not a Nigerian constitution, the person does not know the fabrics of Nigerian laws. Because I could remember that in 1961 there was a referendum in Nigeria whereby the people of the Midwest, they decided their fate to be free and be a region of its own in Nigeria. So there is anybody coming now to tell you that there is no referendum in Nigerian constitution. That means the person does not know the implication of Nigeria's signatory to the African Union and Nigeria's signatory to the United Nations charters. So Nigeria domesticated this international law, and it is a well-known fact that when there is any issue, international law overrides that of a local law. So that is the position. Whether referendum is in the constitution or not, referendum is a fundamental right. So the only thing that the Nigerian government, the Nigerian state, and African Union and the United Nations should do is to respect the aspirations of the people, because it is said that the sovereignty rightly belongs to the people, and the people of Biafra has decided to take back the sovereignty that belongs to them. That is the reason why we want to do it in a peaceful manner. That is why we seek for Biafra referendum.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kalagu. Yes, of course, Nigeria subscribed to international law and even United Nations Charter. So Nigeria must respect the international law and allow Biafra referendum. So what are the issues within the Nigerian state that led the indigenous people of Biafra to call for a referendum?
Well, the issues are very, very many. I will start from the fundamental because there is a fundamental reason. The fundamental reason is this. In 1884-1885, they gathered in Germany, in Berlin, and they decided to partition Africa to themselves for colonial reasons and for their selfish interests, and not to benefit the populace of the indigenous people, rather for their own selfish aim. That is number one. And before they do this partitioning, the indigenous people of Africa, especially the indigenous people of Biafra, were not consulted. Our consent, the consent of our fathers, were not sought after, and this forceful amalgamation was done. So that is the fundamental issue. We must disengage from this amalgamation because it is the wrong move by the British, which we, the present contemporary Africans, we must come together and sit and decide whether we want to continue in that shenanigan called Nigeria or to be free. That is the most fundamental of it, because Biafra has existed for thousands of years before Nigeria was amalgamated and formed. That is number one point. Secondly, the indigenous people of Biafra have suffered a continuous enslavement, both politically, socially, and economically. Politically, you remember that the Nigerian state levied a genocidal war against the indigenous people of Biafra. The indigenous people of Biafra did not commit any crime, rather they sought for self-determination. So the war was levied on the people of Biafra. More than 6 million Biafrans were killed. And up until today, those that perpetrated this evil are walking freely on the street. And even one of them that committed this genocide is the president of Nigeria now, Muhammadu Buhari. So these injustices has culminated into this movement for the freedom of the people of Biafra, because politically the indigenous people of Biafra has been enslaved. After the war of aggression that ended in 1970, the Nigerian state, they said that the war ended in a no victor, no vanquished. That is to say that nobody won the war, and they promised that they are going to implement 3R: reconciliation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. And these 3Rs, they were not implemented because Nigerian government, successive Nigerian government, has continued to live in a fraudulent manner. Secondly, after the war in 1970, all our properties were taken away from us. And even if you had 40 million Biafran pounds in your account prior to the war, after the war, you were given only 20 pounds. So when you calculate all these things, you discover that the indigenous people of Biafra are not wanted in Nigeria as a people. Rather, the indigenous people of Biafra are taken as the food basket where the Nigerian state exploits her resources. That is to say that the Nigerian state wants the land and the resources of the people of Biafra, but do not want the people of Biafra. So these are the reasons why the indigenous people of Biafra seek to exit from this shenanigan called Nigeria. And also, you know, when you come to Biafra land, the Atlantic Ocean surrounds Biafra land. And unfortunately, there is no seaport all over the waters of Biafra land. Rather, they have constructed a dry port in the north where there is no water. Whereas, if you want to import your goods, you must drive kilometers to Lagos in order for you to clear your goods and bring it to Aba. So all these things are the reasons why the indigenous people of Biafra wants to control their destiny and build our own nation. Because as it is, when we want to enter into schools, into unity school that is owned by the generality of Nigerians, there is a discrepancies in scores. If you come from Biafra land, you are required to score higher marks, whereas somebody from the Fulani extraction is expected to score only 2 and 4. All these injustices is what is driving this movement for the restoration of Biafra, because an unjust society breeds chaos, anarchy, lawlessness, and underdevelopment.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kalago. Now, looking at the whole thing, because the indigenous people of Biafra, looking at the social media, Radio Biafra, Twitter, all over the place, the momentum is too high. The people of Biafra, they are calling for a referendum. So, do you think that there is anything that will make the indigenous people of Biafra to drop this issue of referendum right now?
Well, there is nothing that will make the indigenous people of Biafra to drop this quest for referendum to determine our fate. Because without referendum, there will be chaos. Without referendum, there will be violence. Without referendum, there will be lawlessness. Because if you see what is going on in Nigeria now, there is no hope in Nigeria. The political system in Nigeria has failed. The judicial system has crumbled. The legislature is not something to write home about. Which law will you specify that these criminals has made in order to benefit the ordinary man on the street? None. They are only there seeking for their own selfish benefit. You see someone jumping from APC to PDP. You see someone jumping from PDP to APC. That is to tell you in general that the Nigerian political system have no direction. All these political parties, they do not have ideology. Because if a political party have an ideology, it will be different from another political party.
Yes,
which makes it impossible for them to be together and function as a one political party. So any discerning mind seeing all these things happening in Nigeria, even right from 1960s till date, you will only seek and ask to opt out of this shenanigan called Nigeria.
What you're saying is right, and you are truthful in what you're saying. So everybody has seen what is going on in Nigeria even before the war of 1967.
I even hasten to add, our viewers should understand that in Southern Sudan, they fought for more than 30 years, and at the end, it was decided with a referendum. The people of Catalonia are agitating peacefully, and where it ended is a referendum. The people of Britain, the British people, they want to exit from the European Union, and what settles it is a referendum. Why is it that in Africa a call for referendum, especially in the case of the Biafran people, a call for a referendum is translated by the Fulanis as a call for war?
This is because the people are criminal-minded. They do not understand what the law says. They do not understand the importance of civilization. Because when the people decide to go into war, do you understand? They will destroy the civilization, the little civilization they have in Africa. And this is exactly what the Europeans are avoiding. That is why they always conduct a referendum, so that people will go, the indigenous people will go their separate way peacefully. So this is what is happening in Europe. So Africans have failed to understand these techniques in Europe. So as it is now, what is your advice the generality of Biafran people, what is your advice to them? Because they are calling for a referendum. What are you telling them right now?
What I'm telling to the people, the indigenous people of Biafra, is to be consistent. Consistency is the only potent tool that you use to arrive at a free nation of Biafra. Because as it is, what we are doing, self-determination, is our fundamental right. And we will never stop from agitating to be free, because the conditions in which we found ourselves is completely unacceptable to us. Because the value system that predominates in Nigeria is completely divergent.
Yes, of course.
The Fulanis, these are people who believe in feudalism, whereby you have only one lord, and you have serfs. Whereas the people of Biafra are industrious and republican. So this divergent and irreconcilable value system is the reason why every discerning indigenous people that found themselves in Nigeria must agitate to be free. Because nobody is free in Nigeria. Nobody is gaining anything in Nigeria except few individuals, few criminals that has subjugated more than 180 million people. So the people of Nigeria is included to seek for their freedom, just the way the indigenous people of Biafra are seeking for their own freedom. The freedom of Biafra will bring about a proportionate, massive development in Africa, because as it stands now, the whole of Africa is still under the shadows of colonialism. So
thank you very much, Mr. Kalagui, for your comments so far. So looking at the whole thing, the people of Biafra, they are calling for a referendum. And in Biafra land, some politicians are campaigning. They want election 2019. Meanwhile, the majority of Biafrans, the ordinary people of Biafran, and some other elites, they want a referendum to determine their future in Nigeria. So what is your advice to those politicians that are campaigning for 2019 election right now?
Well, my advice to those campaigning and intending to participate or contest for any elective position or selective position, as the case may be,
yes,
in Nigerian context, my advice to them is this: a leader without the led is like a man having a walk. So you politicians, you must listen to the aspirations of the people that you purport to represent, because they say that vox populi vox Dei, that is to say, the voice of the people is the voice of God. So you politicians, you must think twice and note that in Nigeria, the people of Biafra has been voting, and we do not have commensurate development to match with the voting that we have been performing for decades now. So you politicians, you must listen to the people and adhere to their aspirations. That is what to do. Avoid this campaigning, rather synergize with the indigenous people of Biafra and seek for referendum so as to set the people free from this enslavement. How do you reconcile the fact that your child from Biafra land, after academics, he will not have a job because of where he comes from? So the value system in Nigeria does not make for unity. So what we should be doing now is to seek for Biafra referendum holistically and work through the logistics that has been put in place by the indigenous people of Biafra in order to free the people of Biafra from Nigeria. That is the point. And to those electorates, our people who are jeering to go and get their PVC, I want to advise you, your PVC is as worthless as nothing. You can imagine what is happening at the National Assembly. There is no more democracy in Nigeria. Even if you go to vote, how are you sure that your vote will count? Your vote has never counted before. You see what happens in Ekiti State. Before the election, there was a Gestapo invasion of a Ekiti State government house in order to intimidate, in order to influence the outcome of the shenanigans they call election. So I warn you, I advise you as my brothers, as my sisters, as the people of Biafra to desist from giving your data for any form of PVC card. It doesn't help. It cannot work. Higher, they will only give you 10,000. And the 10,000 naira is what you use to sell your destiny to the Fulanis. 10,000 naira is for 4 years or for 8 years of the person that will be in power. So when you look at it, you see that we, the ordinary people, we are at the receiving end. So I warn you and I advise you, never you to get your PVC, because immediately you give your data for the PVC, it is assumed that you have already voted, because the essence of collecting this data for PVC is to enhance a mechanical rigging by the criminal politicians.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kalagu. Yes, so the people of Biafra, what we are saying right now is what the people of Biafra really want is only a referendum. Let there be a referendum. Let the people of Biafra determine their future in Africa, in Nigeria. See killings going on all over the place, destruction of properties. You see that the Nigerian government has failed woefully to their priorities, that is to protect the people and to protect their properties. So Nigerian government failed woefully. You see that Nigeria is a failed state. Boko Haram is controlling some parts of Nigeria, and the Mieti Allah is controlling the government right now. And you see the institutions, they look at the judicial, look at the legislature, they have collapsed, looking at what is going on there in Nigeria. So the indigenous people, they lump up together, they make up Nigeria. What they have to do is to let them go for a referendum, let them vote to decide their future in Nigeria, because we can't allow our own unborn children to suffer what we are suffering today. So it's within our powers to decide to remain in Nigeria or to leave Nigeria for good. So this is the matter right now. So the people of Biafra, our advice to both politicians and the generality of Biafra is to wait for a referendum, campaign for your referendum, let you vote for your future, for your freedom. So this is the issue right now. Kalagu, thank you very much for your contribution so far. Thank you very much. So the people of Biafra, this is the truth of the matter. Thank you very much for watching.